Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Six Pack Sports. You got Drew and Rich here on my third take of the intro, your first listen. We're excited to talk about some Lions football today. The reason we didn't post last week was because I was lucky enough to welcome my second baby girl into the world. Camilla Wilson is a happy, beautiful 7-pound, 6-ounce bundle of joy. She joined us on November 8th, so it's been a busy week, but a great one.
Yes, joining that club of starting your family with two girls. It's highly recommended. They're going to be best friends and worst enemies for the next 20 years. Good luck with that.
Yeah, starting and probably ending, barring any accidents. We have a firm, we do not want to be outnumbered by the children. Right now, we can take one-on-one matchups, go man across the board. If we have to start playing a zone on these kids, I just don't know if I have it in me. I don't have the speed I used to have. I have to be able to just isolate one child at a time.
So
Well, I'm going to
I
cut
totally
that. That
agree with
sounded
that.
terrible.
Totally agree with that. But at the end of the day, when that oldest kid gets a little bit older, you can just tell them, get out of here. Just get out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
walk away. And they're like, okay, yeah, fine. I'll go play Barbies. Whatever. See you.
Yeah, the funniest thing
But
was I got some great ones. I'm working from home, so we've been able between COVID and these last 2 years with the first one. She has only known me as being home, so she'll come back and be like, play with me, Dad, play with me," and I'll be like, "I have to do some work," and she just deadpan stares me in the face and just goes, "No, get out here." Like she like big times me in my own house, and she's 2. It's incredible. She's 3 foot nothing, and she just it's a fun time. No, she's the best, and she's been really sweet with her little sister. But um, let's talk some sports because I was able to hang out with my dad today. We went over to my parents and watched the full NFL slate. We took naps and watched most of the college slate yesterday. So it's been a pretty fun weekend. Tired, but got to watch a ton of football, so that's always good. All right, so it's been a good sports watching weekend, but uh, I'm drinking Miller Lights tonight. What do you got?
just your classic Bud Light today for me. Anytime you get a Spartan win, you got to drink the good stuff. You got to drink what's normal. Bud Light all day.
I haven't really had a chance to do any shopping. I got some Millies in the fridge. I'm gonna crush those. All right, so
Oh,
let's
I got
talk.
I got I got 4 kids now, or I got family of 4. I don't have time to do anything. You poor thing.
No, it's not. It's not the 2. It's the one being 4 days old.
Sure, sure.
So let's
So
talk,
topic
man.
number
Let's
one,
college
feedback
football.
from feedback from episode 1. Um, I don't know who all out there has listened on your end of your people spectrum, but I got a little bit of feedback in regards to people saying I need better tech, and surprisingly enough, having my daughter's unicorn pink headphones didn't make the cut for being good technology. So something I'm working on. Also, I'm going to give a quick apology to somebody. He knows who he is. So I made a comment in the first episode saying that Michigan fans can never admit when they lose, and I was called out on it. So he knows who he is. I'm apologizing to him and him only. Um, and he usually does call me when MSU wins, and I did not call him this time, and I apologize for that as well. But I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a late game. I went to bed, pure and simple. But anybody else, I'm not backing down on this. The majority struggles to accept loss on the Michigan end.
Yeah, I've said this before about Michigan fans. We are an obnoxious fan base. Like we are. If you don't realize that as a Michigan fan, you're probably part of that obnoxious fan base. But like it's up there with like the Yankees and Red Sox type of fans that just we are blind to our own faults a lot of the time. Sparty's not without that either. I think that might just be sports fans. I know in college, like I went to games for both teams and sat in the student section. And I went to the one that I'll never forget. I went in like 2007 or 2008 to it was MSU versus Iowa when they were like both top 15 ish. kind of top 20. Night game, awesome, fun game to be at. And I'm sitting behind these two frat bros, and the whole game, like they criticized every play call. It's like, dude, I'm sure you were great at varsity high school football. The 3 touchdowns you had against Southside, like you should be out there. Like, but you blew out your knee. Like, I get it, but it's just astonishing to me the expectations people have on these 19-year-old kids. It's wild.
I think Sparty got a little bit like that during the D'Antonio era.
You guys got
Um,
spoiled for a couple of years there, like, and you didn't know how to handle it. You're like, we're good, and we're gonna be good forever. And it's like that's not how it works, guys.
uh, Diving right into college football then. First first half for Michigan again. What's going on?
Yeah, they started slow. It was interesting. I think they only threw the ball like 15, maybe 17 times, the stat I saw. This is kind of Michigan's MO that I've noticed when they have really good teams going back to the early 2000s of like Lloyd Carr. They start slow and they overpower. Their offensive and defensive lines are so good and so much bigger and stronger than these teams that they just wear them down over the game. So what's been happening is they come out and they're trying to establish that and set it up, in my opinion. These other teams come out and they're giving their best shots, like fighters in the first and second rounds. They're coming out, they're hanging with them, and then you start getting later in the fight, and those body blows start eating up, and all of a sudden, bam, Blake Corum's breaking a few extra tackles, and he's in the open field. JJ gets out of the pocket on a pass, he scrambles for a few extra yards. I don't think it's an issue against average teams. Where that is going to be brutal is against Ohio State, is against good teams if we get to the playoff, because you can't expect Georgia to wait for you to turn it on and
Correct.
overpower these guys. Like Georgia can match up. We saw that last year. You know, these teams are going to be able to handle that, and that's when we're going to need JJ to step up. But like they still covered the spread. They're 30-point favorites, covered. As I love to say, as people love to say, good teams win, great teams cover. That's what Michigan did.
So two things on that. I'd have to agree with Rutgers. They threw out their best plays
Yeah,
in the first half. They threw everything that they knew was probably going to work and work quickly, and a block punt
yeah,
for a scoop. Was it a scoop and score, or was it
it
just
was. Yeah,
okay?
they blocked it,
So
took it to the crib.
that's something that they're not going to win games on. That's just going to keep them in the game. So
Nah, and if
um,
you looked at the stats too, and I know I'll go back to this, but they dominated time of possession, they dominated yards, like they kicked the shit out of Rutgers. It didn't look like it on paper in the first half, and then they really took over and continued with it. Like that defense dominant. It's gonna be that way next week, and then we'll find out if they have a chance at winning a playoff game and winning the national championship when they play Ohio State. All intents and purposes, that's a playoff game. I think everybody
yeah.
knows it. You're hearing them talk about it on TV. They're like Michigan, Ohio State, winners in the playoffs, because unless something crazy happens, they're not going to lose the Big Ten championship. That would be a
So
wild scenario.
10-0 for the first time since 2006.
Feels good.
Um,
I don't feel
52-17 win over Rutgers, 34-3 win over Nebraska. Outscored opponents 117-3 in the second half of its last 5 games. That is a disgusting stat, and it is something that other coaches need to look at. Opponents, coaches, they're like, we got to figure something out in the second half if we want to compete with this team.
I think it's a combination of two things. They're physically bigger and stronger than everybody they've played so far. So they're starting to lean on them in that second half, and the holes are a little bit bigger. The defense is a little more tired. They're starting to get through. They're starting to win more battles at the line of scrimmage, more one-on-one matchups. Secondly, they're making great adjustments. They are shutting teams down on defense in the second half. You look when they're giving up points, a majority of them come in first half. Like you just said, pulling those stats up, when they come out after halftime, their defensive adjustments have been chef's kiss. Like
It's
they're a thing to
stupid.
watch. And
It's
one
stupid.
thing I was reading about what they've been doing defensively, and I didn't really notice it because it was a year over year comparison. So last year with Hutchinson, they didn't blitz. like ever. They were the lowest percentage blitzing team in college football. This year they're up. I think they're up in the top half, but they're able to run all these different schemes and games that they didn't last year, and they're actually they're ahead of their sack pace this year from last year. So they've kind of reimagined what they're doing a little bit, and they still have some incredible pass rushers. Like, it's just really fun to watch how they've reloaded and kind of taken that next step. And back to what you were saying about Rutgers and Nebraska, like coming out and giving it, Michigan being a top ranked team again, they're getting the Alabama, the Georgia treatment where teams are getting up for this game. They're like, okay, we got a top 10 opponent. We got a top 5 opponent. They're bringing their A game. They're trying to get tape out there. These kids want to get drafted. So like if we can make a couple plays against Michigan, people are going to see it. So being able to weather all that, it's the who likes being under the radar? Nobody. Like bring us your A game and we're still going to beat you. I'm really excited by what I see out of the offensive line. They're running the ball better than anybody in the country right now by like a large margin as a team, mainly due to the offensive line and really skilled backs. And then after that, like that defense is insane. The one thing is like JJ McCarthy has not looked good for about a month now. He's looked very pedestrian.
That is something that I was going to bring into the discussion. Um, and it's funny that you say pedestrian because it's not a concern for me because I could care less if Michigan football is successful or not. I'd rather them not be. But a concern that I've seen is JJ. Maybe they're making a push for Blake to be in that conversation for New York too much by feeding him the rock too much, or they just know that's what's going to work and what's going to dominate the game. But I would agree, and it scares me against the big games. He doesn't look like he's winning the game.
No, that first
He
month
doesn't
of the
look like he has the
season.
potential to win the game.
No, you're right. Playing against those first teams in the month and a half of the season, he looked like an all-star. He looked like, oh, JJ might be a Heisman candidate. And then obviously like Blake Corum
Yeah,
has
I think
emerged
your
as
new
that guy.
daughter could have been
Right.
dominant in those first couple of games.
And now, yeah, you're telling me Colorado and Hawaii aren't good. Get out of here. No, but now you see, what they're going into. I think he threw the ball, like I said, 15 times, and none of them looked in rhythm. Like none of them looked like he was comfortable back there. He looks out of it. I don't know if they need to play action more and establish like they've established the run, use it, get him in rhythm, give him some easy throws, let him run around and be athletic on like a bootleg or something. But that's my concern because I look at the offensive line, I look at the defense. They're as good as anybody in the country. Our receivers are good, not great. Like I think Michigan State's got better receivers. I've said that, but they're good enough to get you there. If we had a quarterback, and JJ might be that guy, who knows? Maybe he'll flip the switch when the lights are on under Ohio State and say, "I'm a big game guy." We'll see. That'll be his first real test against elite competition. Um, but he's my question mark. Like if he's good, they can win a national championship. If he plays good, they could. If he doesn't, they're going to lose to Ohio State and they're not going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to come down to him. My hot
So,
take. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead with your hot take.
My hot take. We were talking about Blake Corum. I think he is great, but I'll be honest. I don't think he's going to be like a crazy good running back after college. But he's got the benefit of playing behind probably the best offensive line in college football. But I don't even know if
Definitely the
he's
best line in the
he's
Big Ten.
yeah. Georgia's maybe better. I think Georgia's would be in the conversation with that. Other than those, like I don't know anybody else. Maybe no. I think it's just Georgia's the only one that's got a case against him.
So I have been watching him a little bit closer because of
Heisman watch.
Heisman Watch, us doing the podcast, just
Yeah,
trying to be knowledgeable a little bit about the Michigan games. The holes that he's running through,
Mac Trucks, man.
I, I could be that good too. Would I be? No. 37 years old,
No,
dad bod, drinking
I,
a Bud Light right now. No,
I,
I can't be. But at the next level, his size,
I
oof,
think if you put a majority of college football running backs in Michigan's scheme right now, they would be putting up very comparable numbers to Blake Corum. Like Bijan Robinson, I think is the best running back in
Edwards.
college football
Edwards
right
right
now.
now for this current roster.
I think Edwards is a better running back. Like he's got the potential to hit home runs. I think he's a better pass catcher. But Blake Corms, I mean, he's getting it done. The one thing I'll say, he reminds me of Mike Hart. Like he is Mike Hart to me. He's the little dude. He bounces off people. He's stocky. Um, but like he
Mike
doesn't have
Hart
that.
is a swear word in my home.
He
We don't
doesn't.
talk about Mike
He
Hart.
just doesn't have that breakaway speed. And Mike Hart didn't either. Like I think his longest touchdown that I ever watched was like 40 yards. Just not going to hit a home run for you, but he'll dominate the clock and all that. But Blake Corum's good enough to get us a natty if the quarterback can make the big throws.
If the quarterback can make the big throws, I
Yeah.
agree. 10-0 first time since 06.
It feels great. Like I don't
But
want Debbie Downer. Like I'm very excited. I am trying not to look ahead to Ohio State, but I'm looking ahead to Ohio State. I'll bleep that out. I am locked in on that team down south. I cannot wait for that Saturday. I'm gonna get drunk. I'm telling wifey take the kids. I'm watching this thing.
Richie, here's the deal: 10-0 through 10 games. That's great. But nothing matters until November 26th. Nothing.
Oh God, no. I
Nothing.
will say, like, I hope the team doesn't feel the same way I do because they've got a good team coming in Indiana this week. They're not bad. So Indiana
Last
or
thing here.
Illinois. What am I?
Last thing here before we talk about the green and white here. 10-0 for the first time since 06. But do I have to remind you what happened in 06?
If I don't, no, I do remember exactly what happened with 6. It was 1-2, Ohio State, Michigan, right? And then it went down to the last game of the year, and Ohio State beat Michigan like 41-38.
Yeah, it was like 850 points to
It was an
830
incredible
points.
game. I
Like,
mean, it was an
yeah,
incredible. It's Illinois, not Indiana. They still have to play a good Illinois team. Um, no, that game was one of the greatest games I've ever watched, and it absolutely ripped my heart out. I was like Heisman winner Troy Smith on the other side, Mike Hart saying, "Give us Ohio State again in the national." It was such a good game that the next week they were still ranked 1 and 2, and people were trying to decide whether or not um, was it Florida State or Miami or somebody got Ohio
it was
State, and
Florida.
was it
Florida.
Florida? It was Florida with
Florida beat
Chris
them up.
Leak and Florida with Chris Leak and Tebow, right? A freshman, Tim Tebow. Yeah,
Just
and they
beat
were
them up in
trying to
the final
decide
game.
like if they got him or if Michigan should get another shot. And then Florida, I think, wiped the floor with them. That is also to me, that is the year the SEC became like the SEC. Because before that, you had USC was winning the national natties with Reggie Bush and Liner, and then you had Texas, and you had Michigan in '97 and Nebraska. You had like all the country in the mix, and then that.
I like how you throw Michigan in 97 in there.
What can and Michigan and Nebraska? Like I gave them their due. It's a shared.
Just slide that in. That's fine.
Sneaking it right in there. But like you go
Listen,
back to
we're
that
done
decade, like
talking about Michigan football. And here's why. They're boring to watch. It's boring.
that's if you
This
don't
game
appreciate the
sucked to
game.
watch.
Just don't
I
love
appreciate the
dominant
game
line
more than you
play.
know, but we're done talking about this because 34-3, we just spent 10 minutes talking about it. We're
All right,
done.
you're right. We should talk about bad football now.
Oh, give
Let's
me a
talk about
break.
bad football.
Listen, here's where I take over. Mel Tucker picked up another, since we last talked, Mel Tucker picked up another ranked road win. And here's why that is aggressively important. How many ranked road wins does Jim Harbaugh have in 7, 8 years at Michigan?
Road, he does not play well against raked opponents.
I
Um,
know. It's bad.
it was like
It's
his
annoying.
first. He just started. Like he's on the upswing now, but his first couple years, his first 4 years, people thought about running him out because he didn't beat any of our rivals. Did we maybe beat a ranked Wisconsin? Maybe two or three
His
road wins.
first his first ranked win, his first ranked win on the road was like a 23 ranked Michigan State who
Yep.
had no reason to be in the top 25. They snuck in a win the previous week against Northwestern. They're like, okay, we'll throw him in the top 25. Other than that, garbage can.
I'm
He's
convinced
bad.
like anybody below 15 they're just kind of throwing darts at records. Like who doesn't have 4 losses? Let's throw them in there. Yeah,
Right.
so one, it's one.
It might be 1 or 2.
I
Somebody
say
stat
I
check
thought
me.
it'd be 2 or
Somebody
3.
at me with it, but
I feel like we probably went to Wisconsin once and beat a ranked Wisconsin team in the last 5 years, but I'm not 100%. I know that his record versus like top 5 teams was terrible. Maybe one win against Ohio State last year, and then other than that, I think he's like 1-5 against top 10 teams at like overall. It's just yeah, it's been tough in that regard because they're like, oh, Michigan's good, Michigan's back. Yeah, we're back when we play Rutgers. We're back when we play Indiana and Illinois. We stomp those teams. That's great. I don't care. We should be like that's the expectation. That is the
it's almost like
lowest.
I'm talking right now.
Well, I mean, it's
These are the things I would say.
well, it's real though. Like we should. I don't get excited to beat Indiana. I'm like, oh, good, check the box. It's not even if we
I
beat them. It's
just
like,
said Michigan
did
football is boring to watch.
yeah. Well, I
Boring.
mean, all right.
We're
So
done.
Michigan State,
Again,
you're very excited
this is the
about
Michigan
Michigan
State
State.
segment, and you're talking about Michigan still. I got to
Oh,
shut you down.
makes me more interested in the topic. All right, Melt
So,
Talk, ranked road win.
ranked road win, you got to celebrate it, especially after the week that he just had.
Yeah, especially with how many players he has suspended.
So, at the end of the day, that is the best win in the Mel Tucker era. And here's why.
It's not the best
Everything
win.
that
He's beat
it
Michigan
is the
twice.
best win. It
That's
who
dumb.
cares?
That's a dumb take of yours.
This is not a dumb take. And here's why this is the best win.
I want to hear this.
I can't wait to explain it to you if you would shut up.
It's not how a podcast works, Drew.
What he had to deal with all week was non-football related crap. And his team suspended dudes. They got rid of players that didn't belong in the culture. And at the end of the day, they came together as a team and just walked into Champaign and dominated. So on a larger scale, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
They walked in the Champagne. The skies glue gold. Champagne fell from the heavens. Dude, you beat.
Listen, when your team kicks off a bunch of players, gets destroyed by your rival, and then you walk into a ranked road win, you celebrate. And that's why that's the best win in the Mel Tucker era.
Such a terrible best win. Terrible.
Mel Tucker 8-0 in one-score games. 2 things on that.
That's actually an incredible stat.
It's an incredible stat, but there's a glass half full and a glass half empty on that. 8-0 in one-score games. So, yeah, he's winning the close games. It's great. Love to see it. But if it's not a one-score game, he's getting beat by 3 scores. So there's a good and bad to that.
They're never on like the blowout end, is what you're saying. So like they're either getting stomped or they're in close games and winning.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha.
So if we look at got blown up by Minnesota, they got blown up by Maryland, got blown up by Michigan, got blown up by Ohio State. But if they can stay in the game in the second half, keep it close, Mel Tucker's been proven he's going to get it done at the end of the day. So I just think it was a great culture-changing win, and it's going to be a stepping stone.
Why would you want to change the culture? Like Mel Tucker's been good for you guys. You guys have had a good decade and a half.
I wouldn't necessarily say on the field culture, but that was some dark crap that we had to deal with.
That was good. I think it was a good like statement of, hey, we're not going to let this define us. This isn't our season-ending moment.
And again, that's why I believe it was the best win of his tenure. So defense is figuring some things out. Hazelton, he's been taking a lot of deserved heat this year with the blowout losses, but outside of even the Michigan game, the last month, I felt that he's put together a lot more efficient defensive schemes, which has kept them in the game and make it able for them to get to that one score game at the end of the competition. So if we played Michigan again, I think it might be closer. I don't think they win. I don't think they win, not at all, not one bit. But I think it might be a better game.
I'd go against you on that one. I think Michigan knows they own Michigan State now. I think they would absolutely crush them in a rematch. Think about what Michigan did to Michigan State in the second half. They dominated. They'd come out with all that knowledge of what you guys were trying to do, where your weaknesses were, and just stomp you with or without hurt or suspended players. Jesus. And yeah, no, I got to totally disagree with you on that one. I think Michigan would come out and wipe the floor with Michigan State if you guys played again, if they played again.
I mean,
All
that's
right,
your opinion.
that is
I do think
mine.
it's a lot closer.
Okay. Agree to disagree. All right, final set for college football. Drew thinks that the best win of Mel Tucker was against a ranked road team and not either of his Michigan wins. Okay. And me, I think Michigan has a chance to win a natty this year. That's my final sip. If JJ turns it on and becomes the guy, I think they can go all the way. The only team that I think physically matches up with them, Georgia. Georgia's incredible this year. They're really, really good. But if JJ can make some plays, that would be a very fun game to watch. Ohio State in 2 weeks is going to tell us everything.